Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm out doing a walk and I've already been walking about 25 minutes. Okay, so my health journey is continuing on, doing great. Looking forward to posting my current results and how things are well on their way. So I'm very happy within myself for just continuing on, keeping up with the exercise as well as my way of eating. This morning I don't post what I eat because I haven't changed a lot of what I eat. I kind of stay along the lines of the same things. And so in the morning, I scramble some eggs, and I have some grass-fed butter that I get from Wegmans, and I do regular salt and pepper with those. And then I add in for my side my sardines. And so eggs and sardines together are banging. And so probably like every other day I'll do the sardines along with the guacamole, and that combination is banging. So I'm just sticking with what works. I'm continuing on I'm going up a hill right now. Hear me breathing. So yeah, so I'm just continuing on with what works for me and things that I can be consistent with. There is something I also like to throw there in the mix. Sometimes I do the bok choy. I throw that in there some days if I say, hey, I'm feeling like I want something a little hearty this morning. And so I scramble the eggs. I put the bok choy in there. And then I also, do the sardines. Some days I don't want the sardines. Some days I'll do just the bok choy and the eggs. Some days I want to go really light and I don't want the bok choy. There is some a lettuce that I found at Lidl's, and I also see them at Wise too. And it's called Little Crisp, and they're these little pieces of lettuce and they spiral, but they're real crunchy, and I love it because you can eat a lot of it. Cause I know a lot of people was like, well, lettuce doesn't have a lot of nutritional value, and because it's just water. But that's the reason why I eat it, specifically because it's good for hydration. So I'm keeping up with my hydration. I'm still drinking my lemon lime along with my honey as the first start of my morning. And so that's always great, and well, it's been doing great for my system, I'll just say that. And so I enjoy it. I believe that I'm seeing the benefits through my skin because on my skin I used to have these the little black moles, and so they're real tiny that they look almost like freckle-like. And so a lot of those have went away. Okay, some people say when that happens, it was just saying that you need a good liver cleanse. And so maybe the things that I was taking in the morning, with the lemon and the lime, and continuing to do that throughout the day. The cucumber water, throughout the day, I slice up some cucumbers, just to go away from the lemon and the lime. So that's another way I can switch it up. So those are some of my benefits that I have been seeing, and I'm really enjoying the skin benefits of the things I've been eating. Okay, hold on, there's something coming, it's loud. So yeah, that's my update on how things are going on my health journey. So like I said, I walk 25 minutes until you walk to clear your mind and think, and just think, and that's what I do. And so what I was thinking about today was us as a whole, as a collective. We do have this tendency to look for a savior as far as the things in these situations that are going on. And so this time, this is what, I got. We are going to come together, and it's not going to be a one savior. It's going to be all the minds, all people coming together to make a unified choice, to make a conscious choice to make this world a better place. And so this thing may be so far from people's minds, and like you say, some people may believe that it's impossible, but I don't think that it's impossible. What's actually happening with all the things that are going on right now, it's accumulation of pressure. And I say a lot, hey, pressure makes diamonds. And the whole thing with diamonds is also an alchemical process. So it's going from its raw stage into its perfected stage. I don't want to say, it's about us being perfect. It's not. But when the diamond comes to a stage, a diamond is one of the most hardest materials to break on Earth. But if you look at carbon and where a diamond begins, it's breakable, it's carbon, it's something that can be mushed up and used and abused and recycled like that. We just moved from all these stages and all these different ages of where we seen things built and crumble. It's built and it crumbles, and we are now able to look at the whole history as a whole, and we accumulated all this information and all this knowledge from the past. So when I say that, when we get ready to start over, it's not like we're just starting from scratch. I heard this before. It's not starting from scratch. We're starting from experience. And so everything that is happening, it is bringing all this the information full circle, like, the possible cons and things that can happen when you have this type of structure. And it's like building structures, and blueprints. And when you finally, I think we're in the place where we are now looking at, old structures that were made with certain blueprints. And we're saying, no, we're creating this structure now from a divine blueprint. Okay? And so this structure is going to be wiser. It's going to be stronger. It's going to be unbreakable. Okay? So nothing, because during the process of also making a diamond, it has a part of the heating where it draws out the impurities, And right now, this separation in energy is what's happening when a lot of pressure is applied. Now you're seeing all the things that was beneath the surface that is rising to be seen, so that we could recognize it and say, these are the impurities that need to be cleared out. Okay? This is not, and what I find interesting about now and the issues that are happening now, especially all the things that the government is exposing, or everything is exposed because of the government that we have, people are really waking up and seeing. If you try to come for one group of people, if you try to come for, people, of a different, class, hate to say, we put people in classes and things like that, because in a true system that's meant for all of us, there is no class. We all work together. But those destructive ones, they need that type of division to keep us divided. Okay? They need different religions, to keep us, divided. They need, different, just boxes, labels. They're always trying to label somebody. And that's why I refuse, to be labeled. I look at everything in the world, and, I take things into consideration. I learn. I learn from all types of people, places and things. And so I don't confine myself just to, being put inside one box of knowing or knowledge, I don't confine myself just to one book. Because I feel like in each and every one of us, there's a key. There's a key to something. Somebody is holding a key to unlock something, that's going to push us forward. And it made me think of this, because while I was walking, I was thinking about this. There's a movie called The Platform. And look, I have not seen this movie in years, so don't quote me about any of this stuff. But it did come to my mind, because when I saw the movie, I thought it was very impactful. I thought it was, for spiritual people, it's spiritually deep. And it was about this guy, going into this institution, allowing himself to be submitted into this institution for, I don't know, it was like a 4-month evaluation that they was just going to be, evaluating them. And it was like, well, you can get whatever you want, once you get out. And that was the incentive, right? So what he did was, or what they did, they asked him a bunch of questions about himself. They asked him about the type of food. They said, if you can have allow one food that you can eat all the time, every day, what would you have? And I think he said escargot. And they wrote that down. And it was like escargot. And they said, if you can have one thing that you are allowed to bring with you in here, what would you bring? He brought a book. Out of all the things that you can bring into this institution, he chose a book, which to me, it meant knowledge. You know, if I'm looking at it from a spiritual sense, that which the book itself, that he actually had, it was something. If I can remember the name of the book, they saying it was a Spanish book, and it was Dante Coyote or something like that. But anywho, I read that long time ago. I didn't read that particular book, but when I was interested in knowing what book he took in there, that's what I read. And so he goes in and they do this thing where I'm sorry, I'm spilling all the tea on the movie. And so he goes in, and so they kind of black out for a little bit because they moved him without knowing. And so he's in a room with a roommate. And so when I see this whole ordeal between him and his roommate, everything is fine at first. They're cordial, but he really doesn't really get to understand or know his roommate until they go through some pressure, some circumstances. They find out that on this platform, it comes down through the middle of through the middle. It's like an elevator kind of, and it drops down in the center, and it has food on it. But what he doesn't understand, well, until he comes into the knowing, his roommate tells him that on this level where he's at, he only gets so much food. And so you get to eat all that you can eat until, the platform is moved. And you can't keep any food, because if you keep it, the pressure in the room, as far as the temperature, gets real cold. So disturbingly cold that, that they can't really take it. So they have to, make sure that they put all the food. So there's restrictions, there's regulations, and there's rules that all these people had to adhere to. And so the roommate, everything that he got asked, the roommate got asked. So he brought in the book, to me, wisdom. His roommate brought a knife. He said if he could bring anything, he said he wanted this knife. And this supposed to be I don't know how much, I have on this video. So I'm going to go ahead and try to finish this video off. And so, yes, I was talking about his roommate having a knife. Okay? And so from the spiritual perspective, this is how I see it. We are souls, coming in, into this institution, this matrix or whatever. And so he came in with knowledge. And I said this before, that's wisdom and knowledge. That's the only thing, that you can take with you from these experiences, right? And so, so he came in with that. His roommate, he came in with another type of spirit, and he was Mother Eppa Wood type, spirit. That's what kind of demon time he was on. And so so his roommate had a mask on, and the mask was like, okay, we're cool now until something occurs. Then that's when people's true selves are revealed. So what I noticed in the movie was that they all had water fountains. Okay? And so even though they had food, a certain amounts of food, when they hit certain levels, there was always water, at least in the room, and
to me, water fasting. Like there was no water fasting in that, as far as a thought, in that. I'm just saying, for me, that's what I noticed. I was like, because there was like, I want to say 120 levels. And at the top level is when it's the creme de la creme. You eat. And at the bottom level, there's some days when, where it's absolutely nothing. And so it was supposed to, be like the classes of the wealth, you know what I'm saying? The creme de la creme, and, you got the poor. And so, they would wake up each time. I saw that as lifetimes. They would wake up each time on a different level. And so what people started to do, because when people would see that they were on different levels, the more, where the poor or the less food or the scarcity set in, they would start killing each other and eating each other, right? And the guy, he realized, because he would be on a top level and he can look down, he can see other people killing each other. Never mind. He's the same guy. He's got a yellow beak too. So I'm pretty sure that we do have Orioles around here, but mostly what I've been seeing is robins. Anywho, I know that was a little ADHD. Okay, so, yes, he saw that they were fighting, amongst levels. And as the platform, people were not respecting the food. Now, when the food came down, the food trickled down, think of the food as in, what people give and what things are given to society and something like that. Mm-hmm. This guy, he was just seeing how people were acting. And one day it dawned on him, when he was on a certain level, he got to see that there was snails, escargot, on the platter. And so he got to thinking. He was just like, that's what I told them. If I can eat it every day, that's what, I'll have. And there's escargot on the platter. And so he realized, that everything that they needed was already supplied. And if everybody just ate, what they was given, then everything would be evenly, distributed amongst the whole. Everybody can eat, basically. And so he had to convince all this group full of people, It's a shame, because they was basically acting like, these adults acting like children. And I can't even say acting like children. It was like worse than that. It depends on people's perspective when it comes to scarcity and what they'll do when they think they don't have something. And it's really crazy. And we're talking about money. When people don't have money, they start to act in crazy ways. They don't get wiser. They don't get more resourceful. They get, they get wild, and they start to do things to each other, things that you really don't have to do, because actually there is enough. And so, I was reading something. It was talking about the universal law of abundance. It was like something came down about that. But if we believed in that, or had faith that these universal laws work for us, and we actually put them in action in what we do towards each other every day, we can all eat. Basically, that's what we're trying to say. Now, there was a part of the movie where there was a lady going up and down the platform, and what she was looking for was her child. And so this person, this woman looking for her child, going up and down the platform every day, calling, and what was so interesting, he was just like, am I the only one concerned about this woman looking for a child on this platform? He's like, there's children in here. And everybody was like, thought she was crazy, and they was making it like a myth or whatever, that there was a child. But nobody did not know. So he got curious about the whole child thing or whatever. So he said, I'm going to jump on being the leader, because it's like nobody's never adult enough, in this world. It's just to say, okay, be the leader, instead of all these people. Almost, I'm going into another movie. I know this is the ants. Okay? It took all them ants to stand up against the little bit amount of grasshoppers. But I digress, or whatever. There's more. It's more of us than it is of them, basically. And so he takes the leadership and starts dishing out, the food on this platform so that people can get equal amounts and things like that. And so he starts going down, and it was a rough fight. He actually, one of his friends got killed, because you get on the lower levels, people acting like animals down there. Because it can be up to 30 days that somebody has not eaten. But I know from fasting that you can fast with water for 40 days. So I think I would have been a survivor on the platform. I'm like, you can eat whatever you want to eat. I'm drinking water. And so, anywho, so he actually finds a piece of cake or something like that he was holding, that he was going to preserve to the end. Okay? Because I think once all the food was gone on a certain level, I think the platform started passing or whatever. But he held still a piece of food. And so that piece of food, I guess, granted him access to continue down to all the levels until he found out that there was an actual child, down there. And so basically what I got from that is, with all this fighting about money and resources and things like that, we are forgetting about the most vulnerable, which are the children. And we just heard that there are the government is a whole pedophile ring, that are backing pedophiles, that are backing people, genocidal people, that are backing dangerous things. And, we go on, which, I understand, with our regular lives, and we're just like, that's just the way things go. But he actually, broke the system. Well, he made it out. His friend didn't. Think he died. No, I think he died too. Okay. Wait, he died. He sacrificed himself. It was a sacrifice. And that's also heads up to all the people who tried to take a stand in leadership to try to push things forward, to try to push evolution. They were sacrificed. You look at Jesus, he was sacrificed. You look at Martin Luther King, he was sacrificed. You look at JFK, he was sacrificed. You looked at Malcolm X, he was sacrificed. You know, anybody that stands up to try to move any kind of elevation forward, yeah. And so I think he died, but he was able to get the child out. And so what I got from that was that child represented the future, you know, meaning a lot of us are going to make those sacrifices. And I ain't gonna say a lot of us, because a lot of people don't care that much, and you know, and I understand everybody on this earth has their own personal journey, and you live out your life and you do, but there's a lot of people who have that in them, that vision, that sight, you know, that goes beyond self. Okay, so if you're a person that's not beyond self, everything is about you, that's actually fine. Okay, you do what's in your spirit to live your life, but there are other people who go on, move, and have positions and things like that they are called for and called to do. So basically, I'm just saying, only do what you feel in your spirit that's called to do, okay? Because everything is not for everybody. Definitely understand that, okay? But this time and what's happening, this is actually part of the process. So this is something we all, it's not one savior, it's we all do it together, okay? And so I'm actually, oh, I got more time? Okay, I'm saying that because I also had this thought that even though through lifetimes, you know, we recycle, or not everybody, because some people break out of the loop and break out of the cycle of incarnation on this earth. But what if all the souls that are here are actually assigned to this mission? What if Earth is some people's actual mission, and that will continue to come to Earth until it comes into that carbon to diamond stage? That'll be kind of crazy. Like, what if we are actually our ancestors? I know that's weird. I know it's weird. He's like, you your own ancestor? You know, you've been building since. You've been putting in the work on this piece since, you know, to see it come into its form, right? And so the planet Earth itself, it came into form through many collisions with other planets to become the planet it became, you know, for it to be livable for beings like us. And so what if Earth is actually humanity's work? And so we join, you know, with the spirit, with source, and he gives us the blueprint, the plan, the direction on how, just like he gave the blueprint and the plan for Moses to make the ark. Okay, you know, he gave the blueprint and the plan on how things are to be constructed, you know, on this earth. But we have to move through all these, you know, get through all these delusions so that we can come to clarity. That's what diamonds come to, clarity, you know. And so taking off, and all the delusions are basically all the lenses, the goggles that somebody says, here, this is my perception of the world, you know, and they put it upon you as a child, and you put it on, and you're supposed to see the world that way. And then somebody else comes along and then gives you another perception of the world, and you put those goggles on, and you're like, you're supposed to see it in that way, and you putting on all those layers, only until you begin to have your own personal experiences. And then you're just like, well, because of who I don't see the world in that way. I come to understand it as this. And then, you take off all those things that other people have tried to place on you. And actually I see some of those, not all, because some people, have a real good lens, perspective of seeing it. But some just have some that need to be expounded upon a little bit more. Okay? So, but none of us are perfect. None of us know it all. Everybody like to say that, and it's true. Because if you know it all, there wouldn't be no reason for us to be down here continuing to grow. Of course, we know we don't really know it all, because look at the condition of what the world is in right now. We still got a lot of growing to do, a lot of expanding. And so we're just not letting the current perspective that we have on it right now stagnate us. We're just going to continue to grow. So that was my thought. Watch that movie and see what you get out of it. What perspectives that you see, out of that movie. So definitely need to see it again. It's definitely showing how the world works. And how people are put through different conditions, and they was just trying to see how people act in different conditions. And this is what the governments do. They have CIAs, they have all this, what happens when we add fluoride to the water, and how do the people start acting? Kids now have up to 40 vaccines by the time they're 2 years old. Let's see what happens to that. What happens when we introduce these things, into the atmosphere, and they watch it and they sit back, all these things, we seeing autism on the rise, cancer on the rise. Everybody got their hand out for donations to find cures. No, you had since the 80s. I'm just saying from the 80s that I've seen it, from when I started to notice them asking for excessive amounts of money for research. They're not looking for they're using that money to make more diseases. Okay, they got to grow their money, so they're making more diseases on top. They ain't finding nothing, because they'll never find anything. All they find is excuses. But so when they poke their hands out, I do not add to that. Only thing I would give to, the things I do, is St. Jude's Hospital for the children in that, because I believe in my heart that that's real. Okay, talk to y'all again. Bye.